Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Loona, Octavia and Verosika Mayday. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so without wasting any time let's get into the video. Naruto Uzumaki had always been used to the unexpected. His life as a ninja had taught him to expect the worst, to be ready for anything at any time. But even with all his experience, he never could have anticipated what would happen on this seemingly ordinary day. The sun was shining brightly over Konoha as Naruto practiced his Rasengan in a secluded training ground. Sweat dripped down his brow and his muscles ached from the intense training, but he was determined to perfect his technique. He was always striving to get stronger, to protect the village and his friends. The sound of birds chirping and the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind provided a peaceful backdrop to his training, a rare moment of tranquility in his otherwise hectic life. Just as he was about to try a more advanced variation of the Rasengan, a strange sensation washed over him. The air around him seemed to shift, growing heavy and thick. A sudden ominous chill ran down his spine and he instinctively stopped, scanning the area for any signs of danger. But there was nothing out of the ordinary, at least nothing that he could see. Then, without warning, a swirling vortex of dark energy appeared in front of him. The portal crackled with unnatural energy, its edges shimmering with an otherworldly light. Naruto's instinct screamed at him to move, to get away from whatever this was, but his curiosity held him in place. He had never seen anything like this before, and despite the danger, he couldn't help but be drawn to it. The vortex began to expand, its pull growing stronger with each passing second. Naruto planted his feet firmly on the ground, resisting the force trying to drag him in. He summoned his chakra, ready to fight back against whatever was on the other side of this strange phenomenon. But before he could react, the portal's pull became too strong. His feet lifted off the ground, and with a startled yelp, Naruto was sucked into the swirling darkness. Everything went black. For what felt like an eternity, Naruto was suspended in a void, his senses overwhelmed by the sensation of being pulled through space and time. His stomach churned, and his mind raced as he tried to make sense of what was happening. Was this some kind of jutsu? Had an enemy attacked him? But there had been no warning, no sign of an ambush. Just as suddenly as the portal had appeared, the darkness receded and Naruto felt solid ground beneath his feet again. He stumbled, disoriented, and nearly fell, but he managed to steady himself. Blinking rapidly, he tried to adjust to the sudden change in his surroundings. What he saw made his heart skip a beat. Naruto found himself in a place unlike any he had ever seen before. The sky above was a sickly shade of red, with black clouds swirling ominously. The ground beneath him was barren and cracked, like the earth had been scorched by some terrible force. Strange, twisted structures loomed in the distance, their sharp edges and jagged shapes casting eerie shadows in the dim light. This was no place in the elemental nations. This was somewhere else entirely. Where am I? Naruto muttered to himself, his voice echoing slightly in the desolate landscape. Before he could begin to explore, a growl from behind him made him freeze. He slowly turned around, his eyes narrowing as he prepared to defend himself. Standing there, not more than a few feet away, was a creature unlike anything he had ever encountered. It was a massive hulking beast with fiery red eyes and sharp menacing claws. Its skin was a dark Hashen color, and it seemed to radiate malevolence. Naruto instinctively reached for a kunai, his body tense and ready for a fight. But before he could engage, the creature suddenly lunged at him with terrifying speed. Naruto dodged to the side, barely avoiding the creature's claws as they sliced through the air where he had been standing just a moment before. What the hell is this thing? Naruto shouted, his mind racing as he tried to come up with a plan. The creature snarled and charged at him again. This time, Naruto was ready. He quickly formed a series of hand signs and summoned a shadow clone. The clone charged at the beast from the front while Naruto circled around to attack from behind. The clone managed to distract the creature just long enough for Naruto to land a powerful Rasengan on its back. The creature let out a deafening roar as the Rasengan hit, but instead of collapsing, it merely staggered before turning its furious gaze back on Naruto. The attack had injured it, but not enough to take it down. Naruto cursed under his breath. Whatever this thing was, it was tough. Before he could strategize further, a loud, shrill voice cut through the tension. Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing? Naruto's head snapped toward the source of the voice, and he was shocked to see a young woman standing a short distance away. She had pale skin, fiery red eyes, and was wearing what could only be described as punk-style clothing. Most striking of all was the fact that she had a wolf-like tail and ears. Naruto had seen a lot of strange things in his life, but this was something else entirely. The woman, or rather, the wolf woman, glared at him with a mixture of anger and confusion. Are you trying to get yourself killed, dumbass? That thing'll tear you apart. Who are you? Naruto demanded, still on guard. And where the hell am I? The woman rolled her eyes and muttered something under her breath. Great, another idiot who doesn't know where he is. She sighed and then raised her voice. Look, you're in hell, okay? And if you don't want to end up dead or worse you'd better follow me. Naruto blinked, trying to process what she had just said. Hell. Was she serious? But before he could question her further, the creature behind him let out another roar, reminding him that now was not the time for a Q&A session. Without waiting for a response, the wolf woman turned and started running. Naruto hesitated for only a moment before deciding to follow her. He had no idea what was going on, but sticking with someone who seemed to know more than he did seemed like his best option right now. As they ran through the twisted landscape, the creature hot on their heels, Naruto couldn't help but wonder what kind of nightmare he had just stepped into. One thing was certain, though. His life had just taken a turn for the bizarre, even by his standards. And this was only the beginning. Naruto's heart pounded as he followed the strange wolf woman through the barren, twisted landscape of hell. The demonic creature that had attacked him earlier was still chasing them, its roars echoing ominously in the distance. The terrain was harsh, littered with jagged rocks and strange, otherworldly plants that seemed to writhe and pulsate as they passed. The sky above was a blood-red hue, casting an eerie glow over everything. The wolf woman who had yet to introduce herself moved swiftly and confidently, her tail swishing behind her as she navigated the treacherous terrain. Naruto was doing his best to keep up, but the unfamiliar environment and the lingering disorientation from his abrupt arrival in this world were taking their toll. He couldn't shake the feeling of being completely out of his element. After what felt like an eternity of running, the wolf woman suddenly veered off the main path and led Naruto into a narrow canyon. The walls of the canyon were steep and covered in dark thorny vines. It provided some cover, at least temporarily, from the creature pursuing them. She finally came to a stop behind a large boulder, panting slightly but otherwise unfazed. Naruto skidded to a halt beside her, trying to catch his breath. What the hell is going on? He asked, his voice edged with frustration. Where am I, and what was that thing? The woman shot him an irritated look, her red eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Like I said before, you're in hell. And that thing was a low-level demon, just one of the many nasties that live here. If you want to survive, you'd better start paying attention and stop asking stupid questions. Naruto bristled at her tone but forced himself to stay calm. He was out of his depth and this person seemed to know more about this place than he did. He needed information and getting angry wouldn't help. Okay, fine. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, by the way. Who are you? The woman paused for a moment before sighing. Loona. And before you ask, no, I'm not a demon. I'm a hellhound. She said this with a hint of pride, as if daring him to question it. A hellhound? Naruto repeated, more confused than ever. He had heard of hounds in his world, but hellhounds. That was something out of myths and nightmares. So, you're not a human? Loona rolled her eyes. Obviously. What, have you never seen a hellhound before? Naruto shook his head, still trying to process everything. I'm not from here. I was in my village, and then this weird portal appeared and sucked me in. Next thing I know, I'm here, in hell, apparently. He looked around, still half expecting to wake up from some bizarre dream. Loona frowned, finally seeming to realize the gravity of his situation. So, you're a human from the living world, huh? That explains a lot. No wonder you look so lost. Naruto nodded, grateful that she seemed to be taking him a bit more seriously now. Yeah, and I need to find a way back. Do you know how I can get out of here? Loona looked thoughtful for a moment before shaking her head. Getting out of hell isn't exactly easy, especially for someone like you who doesn't belong here. Most souls that end up here are stuck for eternity, and those that try to escape usually end up as demon chow. Naruto's heart sank. He hadn't even been here for long, but the idea of being trapped in this nightmarish place forever was terrifying. There has to be a way, he insisted. I can't stay here. I have friends, a home I need to get back to them. Loona's expression softened slightly, though her tough demeanor remained. Look, I get it. But the truth is, hell is a one-way trip for most people. There are rumors about certain demons or powerful beings that can open portals, but they're not exactly easy to find or convince. Before Naruto could respond, the sound of the demon's growls echoed through the canyon, louder this time. The creature had found their hiding spot. Loona cursed under her breath and grabbed Naruto's arm. We need to move. Now. They took off running again, but the demon was relentless, crashing through the canyon behind them. The narrow space made it difficult for the creature to maneuver, but it was still gaining on them. Naruto knew they couldn't keep running forever. As they neared the end of the canyon, Loona suddenly stopped and turned to face the approaching demon, her claws unsheathing. This thing won't stop until one of us is dead. You any good in a fight, or are you just going to get in my way? Naruto smirked, feeling a familiar surge of adrenaline. You'd be surprised what I can do. He formed a quick series of hand signs and summoned several shadow clones, each one ready for battle. Loona's eyes widened in surprise, but she didn't have time to comment. The demon emerged from the shadows, its fiery eyes locked onto them. It roared, a guttural sound that reverberated through the canyon. Loona crouched low, ready to pounce, while Naruto's clones moved to surround the beast. "Let's take this thing down," Naruto said, his voice filled with determination. With a feral growl, Loona leaped forward, her claws slashing through the air with deadly precision. The demon swiped at her, but she was too fast, dodging its attacks with ease. Naruto and his clones followed suit, launching a coordinated assault. Rasengans collided with the demon's thick hide, while Loona tore into it with a fury that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Despite their combined efforts, the demon was incredibly resilient. It shrugged off blows that would have felled lesser foes, its strength and speed making it a formidable opponent. Naruto realized that they needed to find a way to weaken it before it overwhelmed them. "Loona, any idea how to kill this thing?" Naruto shouted as he dodged another swipe of the demon's claws. Loona growled in frustration. "The head. We need to destroy its head or sever it. That's the only way to stop it for good." Naruto nodded and directed his clones to aim their attacks at the demon's head. Loona, with her sharp reflexes and agility, managed to distract the beast long enough for Naruto to charge up a powerful Rasengan. He knew he had to make this count. With a burst of speed, Naruto launched himself at the demon, his Rasengan crackling with energy. Loona saw her opportunity and leaped onto the demon's back, digging her claws into its thick skin to hold it in place. The demon thrashed violently, trying to shake her off, but she held on, snarling in defiance. "Now, Naruto," she yelled. Naruto didn't hesitate. He thrust a Rasengan directly into the demon's head, the force of the attack causing the beast to let out a deafening roar. The energy of the Rasengan tore through its skull, obliterating the demonic flesh in a blinding explosion of light. When the light faded, the demon's body crumbled to the ground, lifeless. Loona leaped off just in time, landing gracefully beside Naruto. They both watched as the demon's body dissolved into a pool of black ichor, leaving nothing behind but the stench of death. Naruto wiped the sweat from his brow and turned to Loona, a grin spreading across his face. "Nice teamwork." Loona huffed, though there was a hint of a smile on her lips. "Not bad for a human." Naruto chuckled, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. He still had no idea how he was going to get out of hell, but at least he wasn't facing it alone. Loona, despite a rough exterior, had proven to be a formidable ally. As they stood there, catching their breath, Naruto couldn't help but feel a strange connection to this place. It was dangerous, unpredictable, and filled with challenges just like his life back in Konoha. But even in hell, there was a chance for friendship, for bonds to be formed. And that, Naruto thought, might just be enough to get him through whatever came next. Naruto and Loona had barely caught their breath when the oppressive heat of hell's landscape seemed to intensify. The air grew thick with a strange, sweet scent, one that sent an odd shiver down Naruto's spine. It was alluring, almost hypnotic, and Naruto found himself drawn toward it without even realizing it. Loona noticed his sudden distraction and grabbed his arm, pulling him back sharply. "Hey, what's gotten into you?" Naruto blinked, shaking his head as if trying to clear it. "I don't know, there's something." Before he could finish, a sultry, melodic voice echoed through the canyon, its tone dripping with seduction. "Oh, don't be shy, darling. Come closer, I don't bite unless you want me to." Loona's eyes narrowed, her ears perking up in alert. "Verosika," she muttered under her breath, recognizing the voice instantly. "Naruto, stay close. This isn't good." "Verosika?" Naruto asked, frowning. "Who's that?" "She's a succubus," Loona explained, keeping her eyes on the shadows ahead. "And not just any succubus, she's one of the most dangerous ones in hell. She has a knack for persuading people to do whatever she wants. So, unless you want to end up as her plaything, keep your guard up." Naruto's frown deepened. He had dealt with plenty of dangerous enemies before, but something about the way Loona spoke of this Verosika made him uneasy. "Got it. Let's just get out of here." But as they tried to move away, the sweet scent intensified, wrapping around them like an invisible net. The voice came again, closer this time, and filled with a seductive charm that was hard to resist. "Oh, but why would you want to leave when the fun is just beginning?" From the shadows ahead, a figure emerged. Verosika Mayday was as striking as she was deadly, her flawless features and curvaceous figure making her the embodiment of temptation. Her long pink hair cascaded down her back, and her bright, alluring eyes locked onto Naruto with a predatory gleam. She wore a revealing outfit that left little to the imagination, her every movement calculated to entice. Naruto felt his pulse quicken as she approached, her hips swaying with each step. He had to remind himself that this was no ordinary woman, she was a demon, and a powerful one at that. But resisting her pull was easier said than done. "Look at you," Verosika purred, stopping just a few feet away from Naruto. "A handsome, strong young man, what a delightful surprise to find someone like you wandering around hell. And you're not even dead, how interesting." Naruto forced himself to look away, focusing on the rocky ground beneath his feet. He could feel her eyes on him, could sense the way her presence seemed to fill the air with a dangerous energy. "I'm just trying to get out of here," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "I don't want any trouble." Verosika chuckled, a low, velvety sound that sent another shiver down his spine. "Trouble? Oh, sweetie, I'm not trouble. I'm fun. And trust me, once you've had a taste of what I have to offer, you won't want to leave." Loona growled, stepping between Naruto and Verosika. "Back off, Verosika. He's not interested." Verosika arched an eyebrow, a smirk playing on her lips. "Oh, Loona, darling, always so protective. How sweet. But I think I'll let the handsome man speak for himself." Her gaze flicked back to Naruto, her eyes glowing faintly. "So, what do you say? Stay with me for a while, let me show you a good time." Naruto's mind raced. He could feel the pull of her words, the way they seemed to worm their way into his thoughts. It was like she was casting a spell, weaving a web that was almost impossible to escape. But he wasn't just any shinobi, he was Naruto Uzumaki, and he had faced far worse than a succubus's charm. "I appreciate the offer," Naruto said, forcing himself to meet her gaze. "But I've got places to be. I'm not staying." Verosika's smirk faltered slightly, her eyes narrowing. She wasn't used to being refused, especially not by a human. "You're a stubborn one, aren't you?" she said, her tone still sweet but with a sharp edge. "That's fine. I like a challenge." Before Naruto could react, Verosika's form blurred, and suddenly she was right in front of him, her fingers trailing along his jawline. Her touch was cold and electric, sending a jolt of sensation through his body. He tensed, every instinct screaming at him to move, but his muscles refused to obey. "I could make you forget all about your worries," Verosika whispered, her breath warm against his ear. "I could make you mine." But just as Naruto felt himself beginning to slip under her spell, a sharp pain jolted him back to reality. Loona had stepped in, her claws digging into Verosika's arm, forcing her to pull away. "He said no, Verosika," Loona snarled, her eyes blazing with anger. "Take a hint." Verosika hissed, her seductive demeanor cracking for a moment as she yanked her arm free. "You're really starting to annoy me, Loona. But fine if that's how you want to play it." With a wave of her hand, Verosika summoned a burst of dark energy, sending Loona flying backward. Naruto's eyes widened in shock as Loona crashed into a nearby boulder, the impact knocking the wind out of her. "Loona!" Naruto shouted, rushing to her side. She was bruised and battered, but she was already pushing herself to her feet, her determination undiminished. "I'm fine," Loona grunted, wiping blood from her lip. "But we need to deal with her, now." Naruto nodded, turning to face Verosika, who was now hovering a few feet off the ground, her wings spread wide and her eyes glowing with malice. The sweet scent that had filled the air was now tinged with a sharp acrid bitterness, a sign of her growing anger. "Let's see how you handle a real fight, human," Verosika sneered, her voice losing its seductive lilt and becoming something far more sinister. Naruto clenched his fists, feeling his chakra surge as he prepared for battle. He had no idea what kind of powers Verosika possessed, but he wasn't about to let her win. "Bring it on." Verosika let out a shrill laugh, her wings beating rapidly as she shot toward him. Her speed was incredible, and Naruto barely had time to react as she lashed out with her claws, each swipe aimed with deadly precision. He dodged and weaved, his reflexes heightened by years of training, but Verosika was relentless, her attacks coming faster and faster. Loona joined the fray, her own claws flashing as she tried to keep up with the succubus. But even with the two of them working together, Verosika was proving to be a formidable opponent. She seemed to anticipate their every move, her dark magic giving her an edge that neither Naruto nor Loona had expected. As the battle raged on, Naruto realized that they couldn't keep this up much longer. They needed a plan, a way to turn the tide in their favor. And then it hit him, Verosika's powers were rooted in seduction, in manipulating the minds and emotions of her victims. If they could break her concentration, even for a moment, they might be able to gain the upper hand. "Loona!" Naruto called out, ducking under one of Verosika's attacks. "We need to distract her, get her off balance." Loona nodded, catching on to his plan. "Right. Leave that to me." With a feral snarl, Loona lunged at Verosika, but this time, instead of attacking directly, she used her speed to dart around the succubus, creating a whirlwind of movement that made it difficult for Verosika to focus on Naruto. Naruto seized the opportunity, gathering his chakra into his hand and forming a Rasengan. He knew he had to strike now, while Verosika was distracted. With a burst of speed, he charged forward, the spinning sphere of chakra crackling with energy. Verosika's eyes widened in surprise as Naruto closed in, and for a split second, her concentration faltered. It was all the opening Naruto needed. "Rasengan!" Naruto shouted, driving the attack into Verosika's side. The impact was devastating, the force of the Rasengan sending Verosika crashing to the ground. She let out a scream of pain and fury, her wings flapping wildly as she tried to regain control. Loona didn't give her the chance. With a final, vicious swipe, she slashed at Verosika's wings, tearing through the delicate membrane and grounding the succubus for good. Panting heavily, Naruto stood over Verosika's fallen form, his chest heaving with the effort of the fight. Verosika glared up at him, her eyes burning with hatred, but there was also a hint of fear in them now. "Looks like you're not as invincible as you thought," Naruto said, his voice hard. Verosika hissed, her body trembling with pain. "This isn't over, human, you'll regret this." "Maybe," Naruto replied, his expression steely. "But not today." With that, he turned and helped Loona to her feet, the two of them walking away from the defeated succubus. They still had a long way to go to find Blitzo and Millie, but for now, they had won a small victory. As they made their way through the canyon, the sweet scent of Verosika's magic slowly faded, leaving behind only the harsh, acrid smell of hell. But Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something far more dangerous. And as he glanced at Loona, who was limping slightly but still determined, he knew one thing for sure. Whatever came next, they would face it together. But deep down, Naruto couldn't help but wonder how many more temptations would they have to resist before they found their way out of this hellish nightmare. The eerie silence that settled over the canyon after their encounter with Verosika was almost as unsettling as the battle itself. Naruto and Loona trudged onward, their bodies sore and their minds heavy with the weight of what had just transpired. The sweet scent of Verosika's magic had dissipated, but the tension in the air remained thick. Naruto glanced over at Loona, who was favoring her left side as she walked. The gash on her leg from Verosika's attack hadn't fully healed, and her usual sharp, sarcastic demeanor had softened into something more subdued. She caught Naruto looking and huffed, trying to mask her discomfort. "I'm fine, okay." Loona snapped, though her voice lacked its usual bite. "I've had worse." Naruto nodded, though he couldn't shake the worry gnawing at him. "I know, but we need to be careful. If Verosika was just the beginning, we've got to be ready for whatever's next." Loona sighed, brushing a strand of her wild hair out of her face. "Yeah, well, it's hell. There's always something worse around the corner." As they continued through the winding canyon, Naruto's thoughts drifted to Blitzo and Millie. He had no idea where they were or if they were even still alive, but he couldn't let himself think the worst. They had to find them and fast. But before they could figure out their next move, a voice echoed through the canyon, cutting through the silence like a knife. Well, what do we have here?" Naruto and Loona both tensed, instinctively dropping into defensive stances. From the shadows, a tall, slender figure emerged, his form draped in a dark cloak that billowed around him like smoke. His skin was pale, almost ghostly, and his eyes glowed with a sinister light. His expression was one of amusement, as if he had just stumbled upon something amusing. "Who are you?" Naruto demanded, his fists clenching as he prepared for another fight. The stranger smiled, a slow, unsettling grin that sent a chill down Naruto's spine. "My name is Striker," he said smoothly, his voice carrying a dangerous edge. "And I'm someone who can help you if you're smart enough to listen." Loona growled, her eyes narrowing. "Help us? Why the hell would you want to help us?" Striker chuckled, his gaze flicking between Naruto and Loona. "You two caused quite a stir back there with Verosika. It's not every day that someone manages to take down one of Hell's top succubi. Word travels fast in these parts." Naruto remained on guard, not trusting Striker for a second. "If you're here to fight, we're not interested." Striker held up his hands in mock surrender. "Oh, I'm not here to fight, at least not with you. In fact, I'm here to offer a proposition." Loona crossed her arms, glaring at Striker with suspicion. "A proposition? You think we're just gonna trust some random demon who pops up out of nowhere?" Striker's smile widened. "Trust? Oh, I don't expect you to trust me. But I do expect you to listen. You see, I know a lot about this place more than you do, that's for sure. And I know that you're looking for a way out." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "And what do you want in return?" Striker's gaze sharpened, his tone growing more serious. "There's a certain someone I've been looking to take down for a while now, a target that's been eluding me. But with your help, I think we can finally take them out. You help me, and I'll help you get out of hell in one piece." Naruto exchanged a glance with Loona. There was no doubt in his mind that Striker was dangerous, but there was something about his proposition that intrigued him. If this demon knew his way around hell, then maybe, just maybe, they could use him to find Blitzo and Millie and get out of this nightmare for good. Loona's eyes met Naruto's, and he could see the conflict in her gaze. She didn't trust Striker any more than he did, but they were running out of options. With a reluctant sigh, she nodded slightly, signaling her agreement. Naruto turned back to Striker, his expression hardening. "Fine. We'll hear you out. But if you try anything, you'll regret it." Striker smirked, clearly pleased with their decision. "Oh, I wouldn't dream of it, hero." He gestured for them to follow. "Come on. We have a lot to discuss, and time is short." As they trailed behind Striker, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. But they had no choice. If they wanted to survive hell and find their friends, they needed allies, even dangerous ones. They made their way through the twisted landscape, the atmosphere growing darker and more oppressive with each step. Stryker led them into a narrow gorge, the walls closing in around them as the air grew colder. There was something eerie about the place, something that made Naruto's skin crawl. Finally, Stryker came to a stop in front of a large jagged rock formation. He tapped a sequence on the stone surface, and with a low rumble, a hidden entrance slid open, revealing a dark tunnel leading deep into the ground. "Welcome to my little hideaway," Stryker said, his voice echoing in the tunnel. "We'll be safe here while we plan our next move." Naruto and Loona exchanged uneasy glances, but followed Stryker inside. The tunnel was dimly lit by flickering torches, the walls lined with strange ancient symbols that seemed to pulse with a faint otherworldly energy. As they ventured deeper into the underground chamber, they emerged into a wide cavern, its ceiling lost in shadow. The space was filled with all manner of weapons, maps, and other equipment, a testament to Stryker's meticulous planning. "Impressive, isn't it?" Stryker said, noting their reactions. "I've been preparing for this for a long time. My target is powerful, but with your help, we might just have a chance." Naruto studied the maps laid out on a stone table in the center of the room. They depicted various regions of hell, each marked with intricate details and notes. It was clear that Stryker knew hell's terrain better than anyone they had encountered so far. "So who's this target of yours?" Naruto asked, his tone cautious. Stryker's expression darkened, his playful demeanor giving way to cold determination. "His name is Stolas. He's a high-ranking demon prince, and he's been a thorn in my side for far too long. I've tried to take him out before, but he's always one step ahead. That's where you come in." Luna's eyes widened in shock. "Stolas? You want us to go after Stolas? Are you out of your mind?" Stryker's gaze hardened. "I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. Stolas is powerful, yes, but he's also vulnerable. He has a weakness, one that we can exploit. With your skills and my knowledge, we can bring him down and take his power for ourselves." Naruto frowned, considering Stryker's words. He had dealt with powerful enemies before, but going up against a demon prince was a whole different level of danger. Still, if Stolas was as dangerous as Stryker claimed, then perhaps taking him down was the key to getting out of hell alive. "What's this weakness?" Naruto asked, his voice steady. Stryker's eyes gleamed with a mix of excitement and malice. "Stolas has a daughter, Octavia. She's his one weakness, the thing he cares about most in this world. If we can get to her, we can force Stolas to do whatever we want." Naruto's gut twisted at the idea of using someone's loved one as leverage, but he knew they were in a desperate situation. If this was their only way out, then they had to consider it. But before Naruto could voice his thoughts, Loona stepped forward, her eyes blazing with fury. "You're out of your mind if you think we're going to hurt an innocent girl to get to her father." Stryker shrugged, unfazed by her outburst. "Innocent? She's a demon, Loona. There's no such thing as innocence in hell." Loona clenched her fists, her body trembling with barely contained rage. "I don't care. I'm not stooping to your level, Stryker. There has to be another way." Naruto placed a hand on Luna's shoulder, trying to calm her down. "Luna's right. We're not here to hurt anyone who doesn't deserve it. If we're going to do this, we do it on our terms. No innocent lives get caught in the crossfire." Stryker eyed them both, his expression unreadable. For a moment, it seemed like he might push back, but then he sighed and nodded. "Fine. Have it your way. We'll find another way to deal with Stolas. But don't say I didn't warn you, it won't be easy." Naruto nodded, relieved that they had managed to reach a compromise. "We'll figure it out. But first, we need to find Blitzo and Millie. They're out there somewhere, and they need our help." Stryker considered this for a moment, then nodded. "All right. We'll start by tracking down your friends. But once we find them, we focus on Stolas." "Agreed." Naruto and Loona exchanged a glance, then nodded in unison. "Agreed." With that, the Uneasy alliance was formed. As they began planning their next move, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking a dangerous path. Stryker was not someone to be trusted lightly, but for now, they had no other choice. The clock was ticking, and with each passing moment, their chances of surviving hell grew slimmer. But as long as they stuck together, Naruto knew they could face whatever horrors awaited them in this twisted, infernal world. The atmosphere in Stryker's hideaway was tense as Naruto, Loona, and their new ally planned their next steps. The weight of their dangerous mission hung over them, but they were determined to see it through. The decision to avoid using Octavia against Stolas had solidified the Uneasy alliance, but it also meant their path forward would be far more treacherous. Stryker leaned over the table, pointing at a map that detailed the labyrinthine pathways of hell. "Our first priority is finding your friends," he began, tracing a line with his finger. "If Blitzo and Millie are still alive, they'll likely be in the deeper regions close to the heart of hell. That's where Stolas holds court." Loona frowned, her tail flicking in agitation. And what exactly is the heart of hell? Sounds like something out of a bad horror movie. Striker's lips curled into a grim smile. The heart of hell is the core of this realm, the place where the most powerful demons dwell. It's where hell's energy is most concentrated and it's guarded by some of the deadliest creatures you can imagine. But it's also where Stolas is most vulnerable. If we can reach him there, we might stand a chance. Naruto nodded, his expression serious. Then that's where we're headed. But we need to be smart about this. We can't just charge in blindly. Striker's eyes gleamed with a mixture of respect and anticipation. Agreed. We'll need to move quickly and quietly. The deeper we go, the more dangerous it gets. And once we're in the heart of hell, there's no turning back. Loona crossed her arms, her gaze hard. I'm ready. Let's get this over with. With their plan set, the trio made their way out of the hideaway and into the twisting, hellish landscape. The terrain grew more treacherous as they descended, the air thickening with sulfur and the ground becoming jagged and uneven. The oppressive heat intensified with each step, and the distant cries of damned souls echoed through the air, a constant reminder of the realm's true nature. Naruto's senses were on high alert as they navigated the treacherous paths. The further they went, the more the environment seemed to warp, as if hell itself were alive and aware of their presence. Shadows moved where there shouldn't be any, and the landscape shifted subtly, trying to confuse and disorient them. After hours of traveling, they finally reached the entrance to the heart of hell. The path before them was marked by a massive gate, its iron bars twisted and blackened with the essence of pure evil. Beyond the gate, the ground glowed with an eerie crimson light, and the air hummed with malevolent energy. Striker stepped forward, examining the gate with a calculating gaze. This is it, he said, his voice low. Once we go through, we'll be in the heart of Stola's territory. The closer we get, the more likely we are to run into his forces. Naruto nodded, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on him. We need to stick together. No matter what happens, we can't afford to get separated. Loona gripped her weapon tightly, her eyes narrowing with determination. Let's just get this done. The sooner we find Blitzo and Millie, the sooner we can get out of this nightmare. With a deep breath, Naruto pushed open the gate and the trio stepped into the heart of hell. The landscape beyond the gate was unlike anything Naruto had ever seen. The ground pulsed with a deep rhythmic thrum, as if it were alive. Rivers of molten lava cut through the terrain, and massive spires of blackened stone jutted out from the ground, their jagged edges glowing with an ominous red light. The air was thick with the scent of brimstone, and the sky above was a swirling mass of dark clouds, lit from within by flashes of blood-red lightning. As they ventured deeper, the oppressive atmosphere grew even more suffocating. The heat was nearly unbearable, and the sound of tortured screams echoed all around them. Naruto could feel the malevolent energy of the place pressing down on him, but he pushed forward, his resolve unshaken. Suddenly, Striker came to a halt, raising a hand to signal the others to stop. We're not alone, he whispered, his voice barely audible over the roar of the environment. Naruto's senses went on high alert and he quickly scanned the area. In the distance, he spotted movement shadows flitting between the spires, too quick and too silent to be ordinary demons. Ambush? Loona muttered, her grip tightening on her weapon. Striker nodded, his expression tense. Most likely. Stola's elite guards. They're some of the deadliest warriors in hell, and they won't let us pass without a fight. Naruto clenched his fists, readying himself for the inevitable battle. Then we take them out before they can take us down. The shadows moved again, this time closer, and Naruto caught a glimpse of their attackers. They were tall, slender figures, clad in dark armor that seemed to absorb the light around them. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural piercing light, and they moved with a fluid grace that was both mesmerizing and terrifying. Without warning, the first of the guards lunged at them, moving with blinding speed. Naruto reacted instantly, dodging to the side and delivering a powerful punch that sent the guard crashing into a nearby spire. Loona followed suit, unleashing a barrage of slashes with her claws, each strike precise and deadly. Striker moved like a shadow, his movement swift and calculated. He dispatched the guards with lethal efficiency, his blades cutting through the air with deadly precision. Despite their strength and numbers, the elite guards were no match for the trio's combined might. But as they fought, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The guards were formidable, but they didn't seem to be fighting to kill. Instead, it felt as though they were testing them, gauging their strength and abilities. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last of the guards fell, collapsing to the ground in a heap of blackened armor. The battlefield was silent, save for the crackling of the nearby lava and the distant rumble of thunder. Naruto wiped the sweat from his brow, his breathing heavy. That was too easy, he muttered, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the area for any sign of further danger. Striker sheathed his blades, his expression grim. You're right. They weren't trying to kill us, they were stalling us. Loona's ears perked up, her eyes widening in realization. Stalling us? For what? Before Stryker could respond, the ground beneath them began to shake, the tremors growing more violent with each passing second. The spires around them trembled, and cracks began to form in the earth, glowing with an intense fiery light. "Move!" Naruto shouted, grabbing Loona's arm and pulling her away just as the ground beneath them gave way. The trio scrambled to avoid falling into the chasm that had opened up, the heat from the molten lava below searing their skin. As they regained their footing, Naruto looked around, trying to make sense of what was happening. The once stable ground was now a fractured, shifting landscape, as if hell itself was reacting to their presence. And then, in the distance, Naruto saw a massive towering figure rising from the depths of the chasm. It was a demon of colossal proportions, its body wreathed in flames, and its eyes burning with an intense malevolent light. Its presence radiated power and hatred, and Naruto knew instinctively that this was no ordinary demon. "That's Loona," began, her voice trembling with fear. "The heart of Hell's guardian," Stryker finished, his expression hard. "Stole his final line of defense." The guardian let out a deafening roar, its voice reverberating through the landscape and shaking the very air. It was a sound that spoke of ancient rage and unrelenting power, and it sent a chill down Naruto's spine. But despite the overwhelming odds, Naruto felt a surge of determination. They had come too far to turn back now. If this was the final obstacle standing between them and their goal, then they would face it head-on. "Get ready," Naruto said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his gut. "This is going to be our toughest fight yet." Loona nodded, her expression fierce. "Let's do this." Stryker drew his blades, his eyes locked on the guardian. No holding back. As the guardian advanced, its massive form blotting out the sky, Naruto, Loona, and Stryker braced themselves for the battle of their lives. They were in the heart of hell now, and there was no turning back. The air crackled with tension as the massive guardian loomed before them, its fiery eyes glowing with ancient malice. The heat radiating from its colossal form was intense, making the very ground beneath Naruto, Loona, and Stryker tremble. For a moment, it felt as though time itself had frozen, as the three warriors stood on the precipice of their most dangerous battle yet. "Remember, stick together," Naruto called out, his voice barely audible over the guardian's rumbling growl. "We can't afford to make any mistakes." Loona nodded, her gaze fixed on the towering beast. Her usual bravado was tempered by the reality of the situation, but her resolve was unshaken. "We've faced worse, right? This is just another ugly monster in an even uglier place." Stryker, however, was less optimistic. His sharp eyes studied the guardian's movements, noting the way its molten limbs shifted with a terrifying combination of grace and power. "This isn't just another monster, kid. This thing is Hell's wrath given form. We need to hit it hard and fast, or we're not getting out of here alive." The guardian roared, a sound that echoed across the infernal landscape, and then it charged. Naruto was the first to react, his instincts honed from years of battles in the shinobi world. He leapt into the air, forming hand signs at lightning speed. "Shadow clone jutsu," he shouted, and in an instant, dozens of clones appeared, surrounding the guardian from all sides. "Go," he commanded, and his clones rushed forward, each one a blur of orange and black, as they launched a coordinated assault on the giant demon. The guardian barely seemed to notice the clones as they attacked, swatting them aside with a single powerful swing of its massive arm. The clones dispersed into clouds of smoke upon impact, but they had done their job. They had drawn the guardian's attention. "Now," Naruto yelled to his companions. Stryker didn't need to be told twice. He darted forward, his twin blades gleaming in the fiery light. With a series of quick, precise strikes, he aimed for the guardian's legs, hoping to cripple the massive creature. But the guardian's molten skin was tougher than it looked, and Stryker's blades barely left a mark. "Damn it," Stryker hissed through gritted teeth as he dodged a retaliatory swipe from the guardian. "This thing's tougher than it looks." Loona, meanwhile, was using her speed and agility to her advantage. She darted around the guardian's lumbering form, slashing at its joints and weak points with her claws. But like Stryker, she found that her attacks were having little effect. The guardian was simply too powerful. "Keep it busy," Naruto called out, his mind racing as he tried to come up with a new strategy. His clones were being wiped out almost as quickly as he could create them, and it was clear that their current approach wasn't going to work. Then, out of the corner of his eye, Naruto noticed something, a faint flickering glow in the center of the guardian's chest. It was subtle, almost hidden by the creature's massive form, but it was there. "The chest," Naruto shouted, pointing to the glowing spot. "Aim for the center of its chest. That's where it's weakest." Loona and Stryker didn't hesitate. They regrouped and focused their attacks on the guardian's chest, targeting the faint glow with everything they had. Naruto joined them, summoning the power of the nine tails to enhance his strength and speed. With a feral roar, Loona leaped onto the guardian's back, using her claws to climb up to its chest. Stryker followed suit, scaling the creature's leg with the precision of a seasoned assassin. As they reached the Guardian's chest, Naruto unleashed a barrage of Rasengans, each one aimed directly at the glowing spot. The Guardian roared in pain as the combined assault began to take its toll. The glow in its chest grew brighter, flickering wildly as if it were about to burst. But just as victory seemed within reach, the ground beneath them began to shake violently. Naruto barely had time to react before a massive fissure opened up beneath them, separating him from Loona and Striker. "Watch out!" Naruto shouted, but it was too late. The fissure widened, and the Guardian, sensing an opportunity, lashed out with renewed fury. A massive arm swept across the battlefield, knocking Loona and Striker off balance and sending them tumbling into the chasm below. "Loona! Striker!" Naruto yelled, his heart pounding with fear. He rushed to the edge of the fissure, but the depths were too dark to see anything. Before he could even process what had happened, the Guardian roared again, and Naruto was forced to dodge another attack. The situation had just gone from bad to worse. Not only was the Guardian still standing, but now he was alone. Naruto gritted his teeth, his determination hardening. "I won't let you win," he shouted at the Guardian. "I'll take you down, no matter what it takes." But before he could launch his next attack, a voice echoed through the air, a voice that sent chills down Naruto's spine. Well, what do we have here?" Naruto turned to see a figure stepping out of the shadows, a figure he recognized all too well. It was none other than Verosika Mayday, the sultry, manipulative succubus who had already caused him so much trouble. Verosika smirked as she sauntered toward Naruto, her eyes gleaming with amusement. "You're really causing a ruckus down here, you know that. It's almost like you're trying to get yourself killed." Naruto narrowed his eyes, his hands clenching into fists. "What do you want, Verosika?" "Oh, don't be so hostile," she purred, her voice dripping with honeyed malice. "I'm here to help, sort of. You see, I have my own reasons for wanting to see Stola's fall, and you're just the kind of reckless idiot who might actually make that happen." Naruto didn't trust Verosika for a second, but he knew he had no choice. With Loona and Striker gone, he was outmatched and outnumbered. If he wanted to survive this battle, he would need all the help he could get, even if it came from someone as untrustworthy as Verosika. "Fine," Naruto said through gritted teeth. "But if you try anything." Verosika laughed, cutting him off. "Relax, Blondie. I know better than to cross someone who can take down a Guardian. Now, let's take care of this overgrown lava lamp and get out of here before we all end up as Demon Chow." With that, Naruto and Verosika formed an uneasy alliance, and together they turned their attention back to the Guardian. But as they prepared to continue the fight, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get even more complicated. The battle wasn't over yet, and with old enemies turning into new foes, Naruto knew that the hardest part was still to come. The echoes of the Guardian's roars still reverberated through the molten landscape as Naruto and Verosika faced their most daunting challenge yet. The chasm was a daunting abyss, its dark depths illuminated only by the fiery glow of the lava below. The atmosphere was thick with the scent of brimstone and the oppressive weight of impending danger. Naruto's heart pounded in his chest as he adjusted his stance, the nine tails chakra swirling around him, enhancing his senses and strength. Verosika, with her usual air of nonchalance, leaned against a nearby spire, her gaze fixed on the Guardian. "You know," she said, her tone casual, "I didn't expect you to be this much of a hassle. I thought Stolas would handle you, but it seems he's been slacking off." Naruto shot her a wary glance. "Why are you really here, Verosika? I'm not buying the helpful succubus act." Verosika smirked, her eyes gleaming with a hint of bitterness. "You're not wrong. I have my own reasons for wanting to see Stolas fall, but let's just say our goals align for now. I have a score to settle with him, and you're in my way." Before Naruto could respond, the ground trembled once again. The Guardian, recovering from the earlier assault, began to rise from the chasm, its molten body glowing brighter with renewed intensity. The fissure that had opened up was slowly closing, and the creature was preparing for another onslaught. "We don't have time for this," Verosika said, her voice tinged with urgency. "If we don't deal with this thing quickly, it's going to make sure neither of us gets out of here." Naruto nodded, his eyes fixed on the Guardian. "Alright. Let's finish this." Verosika's expression hardened, and she summoned her own dark magic, the air crackling with energy. "Fine. But remember, once this is over, we're back to being enemies." Naruto smirked. "I wouldn't have it any other way." The battle resumed with renewed intensity. Naruto and Verosika worked in tandem, their combined attacks creating a whirlwind of chaos around the Guardian. Naruto unleashed a series of Rasengan attacks, each one aimed at the glowing chest of the Guardian, while Verosika used her seductive powers to manipulate the environment, creating illusions and distractions that kept the Guardian off balance. Despite their best efforts, the Guardian proved to be a formidable opponent. Its molten body absorbed most of the damage, and its retaliatory strikes were devastating. Naruto could feel the heat radiating from its attacks, and he knew that one wrong move could spell disaster. In the midst of the battle, Naruto's mind raced, trying to find a strategy that would turn the tide. As he fought, he noticed that Verosika was showing signs of strain, her magic flickering as she struggled to maintain her illusions. "Are you alright?" Naruto called out, concern edging his voice. Verosika shot him a quick pained glance. "I'm fine. Just give me a moment." Naruto nodded and focused on the guardian. He needed to buy Verosika some time. With a burst of speed, he dashed toward the guardian, dodging its molten attacks with nimble precision. He unleashed a barrage of shadow clones, each one attacking from a different angle, distracting the guardian long enough for Verosika to regain her composure. As Verosika's magic surged back to full strength, she unleashed a powerful blast of dark energy, aimed directly at the guardian's chest. The impact was immense, and the guardian roared in pain, its molten body convulsing as the core of its chest began to crack. Seizing the opportunity, Naruto charged forward, channeling the Nine Tails chakra into his Rasengan. With a determined yell, he hurled the Rasengan at the guardian's chest, and the attack exploded with a blinding burst of light. The guardian staggered, its massive form swaying as it tried to withstand the assault. Naruto and Verosika pressed their advantage, attacking relentlessly until the guardian's core finally gave way. With a deafening roar, the guardian crumbled, its molten body dissolving into the fiery abyss. As the last remnants of the guardian disappeared, Naruto and Verosika stood amidst the smoking ruins of the battlefield, their breathing heavy and ragged. Naruto felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion, the battle having taken a considerable toll on him. "Not bad, for a couple of unlikely allies," Verosika said, her voice tinged with grudging admiration. Naruto wiped sweat from his brow and gave her a tired smile. "Yeah, not bad. But we're not done yet." Verosika's eyes narrowed. "No, we're not. We still need to find Stolas and put an end to this." Naruto nodded, his expression serious. "We have to. And there's something else we need to talk about." Verosika raised an eyebrow. "Oh? And what's that?" Naruto took a deep breath, his gaze distant. "When I was fighting, I saw something in the guardian's eyes, something that reminded me of my own past." Verosika's expression softened slightly, a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. "What do you mean?" Naruto hesitated before speaking. "In my world, I've faced countless enemies and challenges. But there was something familiar about this guardian, something that made me think of my own struggles and the sacrifices I've had to make." Verosika looked thoughtful, her gaze shifting to the horizon. "I see. Well, this place has a way of bringing out the worst in us. Maybe it's not surprising that you're seeing echoes of your own past." Naruto nodded, his expression somber. "Yeah. But it's more than that. I think Stolas might have something to do with it." Verosika's eyes widened slightly. "You think Stolas is connected to your past?" "I don't know," Naruto admitted. "But there's something about this place, about the heart of hell, that feels like it's linked to my own journey. We need to find out what it is." Verosika considered this for a moment before nodding. "Alright. We'll find out together. But remember, once this is over, our paths will diverge again. I have my own agenda, and so do you." Naruto's eyes met hers, and he nodded in agreement. "Understood. But for now, we have a common goal." With renewed determination, Naruto and Verosika set off toward the heart of hell, ready to face whatever awaited them. The echoes of the past had given them a new sense of purpose, and they were more resolved than ever to confront Stolas and end his reign of terror. As they moved deeper into the infernal realm, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that the answers he sought were drawing closer. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but he knew that he had to face it head-on if he wanted to uncover the truth and save his friends. The journey to the heart of hell was a grueling one, marked by treacherous terrain and sinister forces. As Naruto and Verosika pressed onward, the fiery landscape seemed to close in around them, the oppressive heat making every step feel like a battle against the very fabric of hell itself. Naruto glanced at Verosika, her usual confident demeanor now tempered by a hint of fatigue. Despite her best efforts to mask it, the strain of their recent battles and the weight of their shared goal were evident. "We're getting close," Naruto said, trying to sound reassuring. "We should be able to reach the heart soon." Verosika nodded, her eyes scanning the desolate horizon. "I hope you're right. This place is starting to wear on me. Not that I'd admit it to anyone else, of course." Naruto chuckled softly. "I can't say I'm exactly enjoying the view myself. But we're almost there." As they continued their trek, the air grew colder, and the fiery landscape began to give way to a more ominous, shadowy environment. The ground beneath their feet seemed to pulse with a dark energy, and the skies above were choked with thick, swirling clouds. "This place is giving me the creeps," Verosika admitted, her voice low. "It's like we're walking straight into the heart of darkness." Naruto's expression grew serious. "That's probably because we are. The heart of hell is supposed to be the source of all the evil and corruption in this realm. If Stolas is using it to his advantage, then we're going to need all our strength and wits to stop him." As they approached a massive foreboding structure looming in the distance, Naruto felt a chill run down his spine. The Heart of Hell was a colossal fortress of dark stone, its towering spires and jagged edges creating an imposing silhouette against the turbulent sky. The very air around it seemed to hum with malevolent energy. "Well, this is it," Verosika said, her tone both resigned and determined. "Let's make sure we're ready for whatever awaits us inside." Naruto nodded, his resolve hardening. "Agreed. We stick together and we don't let our guard down." The two of them made their way toward the fortress, their path illuminated by the occasional burst of infernal lightning. As they approached the entrance, they were met with a series of grotesque statues, their twisted forms and gaping maws seeming to watch their every move. "This place is worse than I imagined," Naruto remarked, his gaze shifting from the statues to the fortress's entrance. "We need to find a way in." Verosika's eyes narrowed as she examined the entrance. "There's a hidden mechanism, I think. It's not just a simple door." She approached the entrance, her hands tracing the intricate patterns etched into the stone. After a moment, she pressed a hidden panel, and the massive doors slowly creaked open, revealing a dark foreboding corridor beyond. "Nice work," Naruto said, his voice tinged with appreciation. "Let's move." They entered the corridor, their footsteps echoing ominously in the vast empty space. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the walls were lined with flickering torches that cast eerie shadows on the floor. As they ventured deeper into the fortress, they encountered a series of traps and obstacles designed to deter intruders. Naruto's ninja training proved invaluable, allowing him to navigate through the traps with ease, while Verosika's knowledge of demonic magic helped them avoid or disable the more arcane challenges. Eventually, they reached a large circular chamber at the heart of the fortress. The room was dominated by a massive pulsating core of dark energy that hung suspended in the center, its malevolent aura casting an eerie light across the chamber. "That must be it," Naruto said, his eyes fixed on the core. The Heart of Hell. Before they could approach the core, a figure materialized in the center of the chamber, a tall, imposing demon with a regal bearing. It was Stolas, his eyes glowing with a sinister light as he regarded them with a mixture of amusement and disdain. "So, you've finally made it," Stolas said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "I must admit, I didn't expect you to come this far." Naruto's expression hardened as he stepped forward. "We're here to stop you, Stolas. You're not going to get away with this." Stolas chuckled darkly. "Get away with what? My plans are already in motion. The Heart of Hell is a power source unlike any other. It can reshape this realm and your world according to my will." Verosika's eyes narrowed as she stepped beside Naruto. "You're not going to use it for anything good. We won't let you." Stolas' gaze flicked to Verosika and a cruel smile played on his lips. "Ah, Verosika. I see you've joined the party. How charming. But you're too late. The heart's power is already mine to command." Naruto's fists clenched as he prepared for battle. "We won't let you use that power to hurt anyone. We're stopping you here and now." Stolas' smile widened as he raised a hand and dark energy began to swirl around him. "Very well. If it's a fight you want, then a fight you shall have. But don't think for a moment that you're ready for what's coming." As the dark energy coalesced into a swirling storm of malevolent force, Naruto and Verosika prepared for the battle of their lives. The fate of both hell and the mortal world rested on their shoulders, and they knew that they had to give everything they had to stop Stolas. With a determined roar, Naruto charged forward, his chakra blazing with the intensity of the nine tails. Verosika followed closely behind, her dark magic crackling with power. The final confrontation had begun, and there was no turning back. The chamber was a cauldron of chaos as Naruto and Verosika faced off against Stolas. The air crackled with dark energy, and the ground shook with each of the demon lord's malevolent spells. Naruto's chakra flared, casting a fierce blue light that clashed with the swirling shadows around them. Verosika, her eyes gleaming with a mix of determination and fear, summoned a shield of dark energy to protect them from Stolas' relentless assault. "We need to find a way to break his connection to the heart," she shouted over the roar of the storm. Naruto nodded, his gaze fixed on the pulsating core of dark energy that hovered above them. "I'm on it. Keep him off me." He dashed toward the core, weaving through the maelstrom of dark energy. Stolas' attacks were relentless, but Naruto's speed and agility allowed him to evade most of them. As he approached the core, he could feel its malevolent power pushing back against him, a barrier of dark energy that seemed almost insurmountable. Meanwhile, Verosika engaged Stolas in a fierce duel, her dark magic clashing with his own. The demon lord's eyes burned with an eerie light, and he seemed to revel in the chaos, his laughter echoing through the chamber. "Do you really think you can stop me?" Stolas taunted, his voice dripping with contempt. "The Heart of Hell is mine to command. Nothing you do can change that." Verosika's face was set in a determined scowl. "We'll see about that." With a burst of energy, she unleashed a powerful wave of dark magic that sent Stolas staggering back. But as she prepared for another attack, Stola's gaze shifted and he cast a spell that sent a ripple of dark energy toward her. Naruto's heart raced as he saw the spell heading straight for Verosika. Without hesitation, he summoned a wall of chakra to intercept the attack, the impact forcing him back, but protecting Verosika. "Don't!" Verosika cried, turning to Naruto with a mixture of gratitude and anguish. "Why are you risking yourself like this?" Naruto's eyes met hers, a fierce resolve burning within them. "Because we're in this together. I'm not letting you take all the hits." Their brief exchange was interrupted by a powerful explosion of dark energy from Stola's. The Demon Lord's fury was palpable, and the chamber shook with the force of his attack. The core of the heart pulsed more intensely, its dark power threatening to engulf everything. As Naruto struggled to reach the core, he could feel the weight of his own doubts and fears pressing down on him. The burden of his mission, the weight of his past, and the danger to those he cared about, all of it seemed to coalesce into a single overwhelming force. But then he remembered the faces of those he loved, the friends he had made, the bonds he had forged, and the promise he had made to protect them. It was this sense of purpose that gave him strength, pushing him forward despite the overwhelming odds. Naruto reached the core and placed his hands on the dark energy, feeling its corruptive influence searing through his chakra. He closed his eyes and concentrated, channeling all of his willpower into a single focused effort. "Come on, Naruto." Verosika's voice rang out, filled with a desperate hope. "You can do it." With a determined shout, Naruto unleashed a surge of pure chakra, his nine tails power clashing with the dark energy of the core. The two forces collided with a blinding burst of light, and for a moment, the entire chamber was engulfed in a brilliant radiance. As the light began to fade, Naruto and Verosika could see the heart of hell quivering, its dark energy destabilizing. Stolas, who had been thrown back by the explosion, rose to his feet, his expression one of shock and fury. "No!" Stolas roared, his voice echoing with rage. "You cannot do this." But even as he advanced, the heart's dark power began to unravel. The core's pulsations grew erratic, and the fortress itself began to tremble. Naruto and Verosika knew that they had only moments before the entire structure collapsed. "We need to get out of here," Verosika shouted, grabbing Naruto's arm. "This place is coming down." They sprinted toward the exit, the ground shaking violently beneath their feet. The walls of the fortress began to crumble, and the fiery chasm below roared with renewed fury. As they reached the entrance, they looked back to see the heart of hell collapsing into a vortex of dark energy. The pair barely made it out of the fortress before it was consumed by a final cataclysmic explosion. The force of the blast sent them flying, and they landed hard on the rocky ground outside, the infernal landscape now eerily quiet in the aftermath. Panting and covered in dust and soot, Naruto and Verosika looked at each other, the weight of their ordeal settling in. The battle was over, but the cost had been high. "We did it," Naruto said, his voice filled with a mixture of exhaustion and relief. Verosika nodded, her expression one of weary satisfaction. "Yeah. We did. But it wasn't without sacrifice." Naruto looked at her, understanding the depth of her words. "We both had to give a lot to make this happen." Verosika's gaze softened, a hint of vulnerability in her eyes. "Sometimes, to protect others, we have to make the hardest choices. It's not always about winning or losing, it's about what we're willing to sacrifice." Naruto nodded, feeling a deep sense of connection with Verosika. "Thank you. For everything." Verosika gave a faint smile. "Don't mention it. We still have our own paths to walk, but for now, we've done something good." As they stood together amidst the ruins of the heart of hell, Naruto and Verosika knew that their journey had changed them. They had faced their fears, confronted their pasts, and forged an unexpected bond in the process. The sun began to rise on the horizon, casting a new light over the once hellish landscape. Naruto and Verosika knew that their paths would soon diverge, but the experience they had shared would remain a part of them forever. With a final, shared glance, they prepared to part ways, each of them ready to continue their own journey. But no matter where their paths led, they knew that they would always carry a piece of each other's strength and courage within them. The dawn brought a deceptive calm to the infernal landscape. The destruction wrought by the collapse of the heart of hell had left a scar on the realm, but it was the uneasy silence that signaled the calm before the storm. Naruto and Verosika stood at the edge of the crater where the heart had once pulsated with dark energy. They were battered and exhausted, but their spirits were resolute. As they began to regroup and assess their situation, the ground beneath them trembled ominously. From the depths of the chasm, a dark figure emerged, its presence effused with an aura of malevolence that eclipsed even the previous chaos. It was Stolas, his form twisted and warped by the destruction of his power source. "You thought you could defeat me so easily?" Stola's voice echoed, a chilling combination of fury and disbelief. His eyes glowed with a dark, menacing light as he rose from the depths of the crater. "You have no idea what you've unleashed." Naruto clenched his fists, his eyes narrowing with determination. "We're not finished yet. We're going to put an end to this, once and for all." Verosika stepped beside him, her expression hardening. You may have survived the collapse, but you won't survive us. We're here to make sure you can't hurt anyone else. Stola's form solidified, revealing a more formidable version of himself, augmented by the dark energies he had absorbed. He laughed, a sound that sent shivers down the spine. Very well. If it's a final battle you want, then a final battle you shall have. But be warned, it will be the end of you. With a roar, Stolas unleashed a torrent of dark energy that surged toward Naruto and Verosika. Naruto's chakra flared as he formed a protective barrier, deflecting the blast. He leaped forward, closing the distance between them with blinding speed. Verosika followed closely, her dark magic crackling with renewed intensity. The chamber erupted into chaos as the two sides clashed. Naruto's Rasengan collided with Stola's dark energy, sending shockwaves through the area. Verosika's spells intertwined with Stola's attacks, creating a dazzling display of light and shadow. Naruto's mind raced as he fought, trying to find a way to counter Stola's overwhelming power. He could feel the strain on his body and the drain on his chakra, but he pushed through, focusing on the mission at hand. We need to find a way to weaken him. Naruto shouted, his voice strained with effort. We can't keep up with this pace forever. Verosika nodded, her eyes sharp with determination. I'll distract him. You focus on finding a weakness. With a fierce determination, Verosika conjured a series of illusions that surrounded Stolas, confusing and disorienting him. The demon lord roared in frustration, his dark energy lashing out in every direction as he tried to dispel the illusions. Naruto seized the opportunity, his mind racing as he beepized Stola's attacks and movements. He noticed a pattern, a brief moment of vulnerability when Stolas was forced to channel his energy into his most powerful spells. It was during these moments that he was most exposed. As Verosika's illusions continued to pummel Stolas, Naruto focused his chakra, forming a massive Rasengan charged with the full power of the Nine Tails. He timed his attack carefully, waiting for the right moment to strike. Now! Naruto shouted, his voice filled with determination. This is our chance. He hurled the Rasengan at Stolas, the spinning sphere of chakra slicing through the dark energy and striking the demon lord with a resounding explosion. Stolas staggered back, his form flickering as the Rasengan's power tore through his defenses. The chamber was filled with the blinding light of the explosion, and for a moment, everything was silent. When the light faded, Stolas was kneeling on the ground, his form visibly weakened. The dark energy around him was flickering, and the once mighty demon lord looked battered and exhausted. Naruto and Verosika approached cautiously, their breaths ragged, but their resolve unwavering. Stolas looked up at them, his eyes filled with a mixture of anger and despair. This isn't over, Stolas spat, his voice weak but defiant. I'll find a way to return, to reclaim my power. Naruto shook his head, his expression stern. No. This ends now. You've caused enough suffering. With a final, decisive surge of chakra, Naruto delivered a powerful blow that shattered Stola's form, dispersing the dark energy that had sustained him. The demon lord's screams echoed through the chamber as his essence was dissipated, leaving nothing behind but a lingering sense of relief. As the remnants of Stola's dark presence faded, the chamber began to calm. The once ominous atmosphere of the heart of hell was now filled with an eerie stillness. Naruto and Verosika stood amidst the ruins, their exhaustion evident but their spirits triumphant. We did it, Verosika said, her voice soft with relief. It's finally over. Naruto nodded, a weary but satisfied smile on his face. Yeah. We stopped him. The two of them stood together in the aftermath of the battle, their shared experience forging a bond that went beyond mere friendship. They had faced unimaginable odds and emerged victorious, their courage and determination proving stronger than the darkness that had sought to engulf them. As the sun began to rise over the infernal landscape, Naruto and Verosika knew that their paths would soon diverge. But the battle they had fought and the sacrifices they had made would remain with them, shaping their futures in ways they could not yet fully comprehend. With a final glance at the ruins of the heart of hell, Naruto and Verosika prepared to part ways. The journey had been arduous, but it had also been a testament to their strength and resilience. As they walked away from the Rekage, they carried with them the knowledge that they had made a difference and that their shared battle had forged a connection that would endure beyond the flames of hell. The infernal sky was beginning to clear, its ominous clouds giving way to the first rays of a new dawn. The battlefield, once a place of darkness and despair, was now marked by the remnants of an epic struggle. As Naruto and Verosika stood together amidst the ruins, the weight of their victory and the promise of what was to come hung heavily in the air. Naruto looked around at the desolation, feeling a mixture of relief and melancholy. The destruction they had witnessed was a stark reminder of the cost of their battle, but it was also a sign of their triumph. They had fought through impossible odds and emerged victorious, but now they faced the challenge of moving forward from the ashes of their struggle. Verosika's gaze was soft, her usual bravado replaced with a contemplative expression. It's over, isn't it? She said, her voice tinged with a mixture of relief and sadness. We've won, but Naruto turned to her, sensing the unspoken thoughts behind her words. Yeah, it's over. But that doesn't mean everything's going to be easy from here on out. A gentle breeze swept through the ruined landscape, carrying with it the promise of change. The air felt lighter, as if the realm itself was breathing a sigh of relief. Naruto took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the battles fought and the new journey that lay ahead. We did what we had to, Naruto said, placing a comforting hand on Verosika's shoulder. And now, it's time for us to move on. Verosika nodded, her eyes meeting Naruto's with a newfound sense of resolve. You're right. We've made it through the darkest part of this journey. Now we need to focus on what comes next. As they began to make their way through the ruins, the two of them encountered survivors, demon residents of hell who had witnessed the upheaval and were now emerging from their hiding places. Their faces reflected a mixture of awe and gratitude as they saw the remnants of the battle and the heroes who had brought it to an end. One of the survivors, a tall demon with a weary but hopeful expression, approached them. "Thank you," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "You've freed us from a terrible fate. We owe you everything." Naruto nodded, a small smile on his face. "We did what needed to be done. We just hope that things can start to get better around here." The demon's gratitude was echoed by others who gathered around, their voices a chorus of thanks and newfound hope. It was a reminder that, even in the darkest places, there was always a chance for redemption and renewal. As Naruto and Verosika made their way back to the surface, they found themselves in a landscape transformed by their actions. The once hellish realm was beginning to show signs of recovery. The skies cleared, revealing a brilliant blue expanse, and the air grew warmer, hinting at the possibility of a new beginning. Verosika looked at Naruto, her expression a mix of determination and optimism. What now? What happens next for us? Naruto's gaze was thoughtful as he considered the question. I think we need to find our own paths. We've both been through so much, and we need to figure out where we go from here. Verosika smiled, a genuine warmth in her eyes. I think you're right. There's a whole world out there beyond this place, and we both have our own journeys to undertake. As they stood together at the threshold of the new world, Naruto and Verosika shared a moment of quiet reflection. They had faced tremendous challenges and emerged victorious, but their journey was far from over. The battles they had fought had forged them into stronger individuals, and the experiences they had shared had created a bond that would last beyond their parting. With a final, heartfelt farewell, Naruto and Verosika set out on their separate paths. Naruto returned to his world with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Verosika, too, embarked on her own journey, carrying with her the lessons learned and the strength gained from their time together. As they walked into their respective futures, both knew that their paths would cross again one day. The world was vast, and their adventures were far from over. But for now, they embraced the new beginnings that awaited them, each carrying the legacy of their shared struggle and the promise of a brighter future. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the landscape. The world was slowly mending, with signs of hope and recovery becoming more apparent with each passing day. As Naruto and Verosika ventured into their respective futures, they carried with them the weight of their experiences and the promise of a new beginning. Naruto found himself standing at the edge of the Hidden Leaf Village, the familiar sights and sounds of his home, bringing a sense of comfort and belonging. The battle in hell had been a trial unlike any he had faced before, but it had also reaffirmed his commitment to protect those he cared about and to strive for a better world. As he walked through the village, Naruto was greeted with smiles and waves from his friends and allies. Their warmth and support were a stark contrast to the infernal landscape he had left behind. It was a reminder that, no matter how dark the world might become, there would always be light and hope to guide him. In a quiet corner of the village, Naruto met with his closest friends Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi. They gathered around him, their expressions a mix of relief and curiosity as they listened to his story of the battle in hell and the trials he had faced. I can't believe you went through all that, Sakura said, her voice filled with awe and concern. But I'm glad you're back. We missed you. Naruto smiled, his eyes reflecting a deep sense of gratitude. I missed you all too. It was a tough fight, but it made me realize how much I value the people in my life. Sasuke nodded, his gaze thoughtful. You've grown a lot from this experience. It's good to see you back and ready to move forward. Kakashi placed a reassuring hand on Naruto's shoulder. You've done well. Now it's time to focus on rebuilding and looking to the future. As Naruto reconnected with his friends, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The battle in hell had been a testament to his strength and resolve, but it was the support of those he loved that gave him the strength to continue his journey. He knew that the challenges ahead would be different, but he was ready to face them with the same determination and spirit that had guided him through the darkest of times. Meanwhile, Verosika had returned to the heart of hell, now a realm that was slowly recovering from the devastation wrought by the collapse of the heart. The once mighty fortress was in ruins, but there was a sense of renewal in the air. The inhabitants of hell, freed from the tyrannical grip of Stolas, were beginning to rebuild their lives. Verosika walked through the newly forming settlements, her presence a symbol of hope and change. The demon residents, once fearful and oppressed, now looked to her with respect and gratitude. She had become a beacon of strength and resilience, leading efforts to heal the wounds of their world and to forge a new path forward. In a moment of quiet reflection, Verosika stood at the edge of a newly formed lake, its waters glistening under the setting sun. The scene was peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos that had once reigned. It was a symbol of the potential for redemption and renewal, even in the most unlikely places. As she gazed out over the water, Verosika thought of Naruto, the unlikely ally who had stood by her side and fought with unwavering courage. Their bond had been forged in the crucible of battle, and though their paths had diverged, the memories of their shared struggle remained a source of strength for her. In the distance, a figure approached one of the demon leaders who had helped with the rebuilding efforts. "Verosika," he said, his voice respectful. "The realm is starting to recover, thanks to your leadership. But there is still much work to be done." Verosika turned to him with a determined smile. "Yes, there is. But we'll face it together. We have a chance to build something better, and I'm not going to let that slip away." As she continued to guide the efforts to rebuild Hell, Verosika felt a sense of fulfillment. The battles she had fought and the sacrifices she had made had not been in vain. The realm was on the path to healing, and she was determined to see it through to the end. Back in the Hidden Leaf village, Naruto stood on a hill overlooking the village, his heart filled with a sense of peace and anticipation. The future was uncertain, but he knew that he was ready to face it. The trials he had endured and the lessons he had learned had prepared him for whatever lay ahead. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Naruto reflected on the journey that had brought him here. The battles, the friendships, and the sacrifices had all shaped him into the person he had become. And now, he was ready to embrace the new beginning that awaited him. The world was a place of contrasts, light and darkness, hope and despair, beginnings and endings. But amidst it all, Naruto and Verosika had found their own paths, each carrying forward the legacy of their shared struggle. As the night deepened, Naruto and Verosika each looked toward their own horizons, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities awaited them. The story of their battle was a testament to their strength and resilience, but it was also a new chapter in their lives, a chance to build a future that embraced the lessons of the past and the promise of a better tomorrow. In the end, it was not just about heaven or hell, but about the journey of redemption and the hope for a brighter future that bound them together. And as the world continued to turn, both Naruto and Verosika stepped into their new beginnings with courage and hope, ready to face whatever lay ahead. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.